Hey guys, my name is Danny James, and in this video we'll be compositing Explosion VFX on a music video. I'd recommend starting with separating the foreground from the background. In this case, I'll be adding these cars and the subjects into my foreground. So I will enable my roto brush because I kinda started this so that we wouldn't take too much time. I haven't frozen the selection because I wanted you guys to see the thought process behind this. I added the car, the ground, the subjects into this roto. I'll freeze this selection. Okay, with that frozen, go back to your comp, make sure you have your selection tool. Just try to go through these. You can even toggle the transparency just to see how clean your selection is. As I scroll through, I can see that my edges need a bit of work. So reduce shift edge, increase the value for reduce chatter, and now if I scroll through, we have a little bit of improvement. You can increase the feather up to something around 20 or 10, whatever works for you. Then duplicate this layer by hitting Ctrl D. Then the layer above will be the roto only, and then for the layer that is right below, we can go ahead and delete the roto brush from it. For now, we'll switch off the visibility for the roto clip only. Start by getting a track of the environment. Go to your trackers tab, and if you can't find it, go to window and ensure trackers is enabled. Click on track motion. We are going to track any object that will give us a clear contrast. In this example, I will go with this side mirror because it stays on throughout the entirety of the clip. And then click here to analyze going forward. You can see it stays in the frame and it should stay here, I think, till the end of this clip. Once that's done, create a new null object, then go to edit target and then choose the null object as the target and then apply. So all these track points should go into this null object. I will rename this tracking info. And now it's time to bring in our elements and start playing with everything. I have some assets on my project bin that I will also link down below in case you want to try these, and I will also have the project file for these available on my Gumroad. I have fire explosion, and I also have a ground debris on green screen. More ground debris on green screen. I will actually add this one, but I want to start by compositing the explosion clip, which is this one. Drag it into your comp. Since it has a green screen, find your key light effect, put it on the clip, key out the green, and then you can place it somewhere right there. If you need a better perspective on this, you can just put your roto clip above everything else and enable it. Now we have a better perspective of what we are creating. I would actually even lock that layer, and now I can move the layer with the explosion, even scale it up if I need to, place it where I actually want to. To make this explosion stay in place, we need to toggle switches and modes if you haven't, parent it and link it to the tracking info. It stays on one place on the screen and it even disappears as the camera pans away. Once that is established, you can now bring in more elements. In this example, I'll bring the debris, the ground debris. Make sure the debris stays on top of this explosion. Key out the green, place it somewhere there, scale it if you need to. Parent it to the tracking info. We need the moment of impact to be congruent. I've done a little bit of aligning and I think we now have something better to work with. I'll now bring in the clip of the meteor just flying into this frame. Key out the green as before, and then I will rotate it and place it in the direction I want it to come in. I've placed it how I want, and now it's just a matter of aligning it with the explosion and making sure the timing is in sync. So once it hits the ground, I want the explosion clips to begin. So I'll push them to my right hand side. One of the important things to make sure here is that the meteor clip stays below the explosions. I've renamed my layers so that it's easy for you to follow through, and if I play this back, this is what we do have. For this ground debris, add a Gaussian blur. Just add a little bit of keyframes, hit U so that you can see the keyframe, and as the debris breaks, set it to around 5.7, set it to easy ease. From here, create a new adjustment layer, name these light rays. I will disable the roto layer just to reduce the rendering time. Go to your effects, search CC light rays. So I'll find a point where the explosion is now in place, like somewhere here. Change the center for the CC light rays to to this point, keyframe the intensity, hit U, so that right now since it's at 100 you can also have it increase, and then 2-3 keyframes before we can start it at less than 70. I think we can now keyframe the center, hit U so that you can see that keyframe. Right now it's here. I'll go many frames forward. I'll disable my roto layer just to reduce my rendering time. Change the center to somewhere around here. A few frames later, we can probably put it somewhere up here. Then right at the end, have it stay right there. So far, this is what the light rays do. Put all those keyframes to easy ease by hitting F9. Create a new adjustment layer. Name this glow and lighting. I will squeeze it so that it starts right after the explosions. Go to your effects, look for Lumetri, and then also add a glow. I'll use the universe glow, and then finally add a heat wave, something to add some texture to the image. Disable the first two effects. Go to the basic corrections for Lumetri. Increase the shadows, at the same time increase the highlights a little bit, and then reduce the contrast up to around 30 without the Lumetri, with the Lumetri, and finally increase the temperature so that it can resemble a hot Saharan desert type shade. So it's a bit more orangey, which is what I wanted all along. Reactivate your glow. I usually start by increasing the threshold a little bit, and then I will reduce the intensity up to something like 0.4, just something that is more subtle, and then I will put 0.4 on both the width and height. And I think now I can also increase the threshold up to something like 90. I think this is okay. And then finally reactivate the universe heatwave, and here it's just a matter of personal preference. I'll increase the intensity up to around 30, and then you can also increase the speed if you need to. And with those three effects, we're able to create a new depth into this frame. We need to control the opacity for this, so hit T, add a keyframe for opacity. 100 should be right about there, and then right in the beginning we need this to start at 0, and then easy ease the keyframes. I would preferably go to the graph editor for these two keyframes. Edit your graph so that the transition is fastest towards the end, and then you can now space this keyframe however you need. And with those keyframes, it comes in a little bit more subtly. And then finally just add a shake by creating a new adjustment layer. We'll rename it shake. Go to your effects, add the transform, drag it into that shake adjustment layer. Also make sure that it starts right after the explosion. Increase the value for scale up to around 105, 107. Disable using the compositions shutter angle and put yours. I would recommend going with something like 150 degrees to 200 in case you want more motion blur. Add a keyframe for position, hit you so that you can see that keyframe. Go every 2 frames, adjusting the position ever so slightly within the comp. You can copy them and paste them just to make the movement repeat itself. And here is our final result after all the work that we've put in. Yeah, that's it from me for this video. I want to give a shout out to Asim Noang for making this concept. I just felt like I had more to add on to the tutorial and add some more elements to make it more VFX realistic. My name is Danny James. See you guys on the next tutorial. Peace.